Welcome to the College Football Tailgate. You're in the garage. We're Sans XFL Jim, our spiritual leader. I swear to God, he has a future as a cult leader because his eyes just make you want to do whatever XFL Jim is doing.
He brings it, dude.
He brings it. So XFL Jim will be here shortly. Until then, I'm stepping into the lead role, and I got with me a man I'm proud to call my mother's brother, Uncle Rico. What's up, Uncle Rico?
What's up, bud? How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing, other than it being jungle hot here, doing pretty well.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm sweating right now. Like, it is hot here. And just got my ice cold beverage. Got a nice ice cold towel on my back. No one can see, and hopefully gonna get through the show in those sweat stains and the new red shirt. So
look at that. I love the long sleeve, like, because that's like my grandpa taught.
And
oh yeah, because now when the wind blows, all that sweat you collect in the shirt.
Yeah.
Speaking of sweats, we're going to be talking about the American Athletic Conference, doing our preview today of that 14-team conference. Real quick, look at our conference championship odds. It looks like Tulane is going to be your favorite at plus 225, SMU plus 265. Longest shot on the board, the beloved Clit, Charlotte, 150 to 1. Any part of you?
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, they're missing a ton. I had one bold prediction last year with Kansas, and it came right. I have a bold prediction with one of these teams in here. So I'm eager to dive into it. I got two futures in this conference. I'm invested in, my man.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. We're going alphabetically. So our first team is going to be the aforementioned Clit, Charlotte. Uncle Rico, what's the verdict?
Returning 29, 4 offensive, 6 defensive. Chris Reynolds is gone. They're all-world quarterback. It's looking like Jalen Jones will be the starting quarterback. Coaches describe him as an elite-level athlete. Freshman Robinson, who is the highest-rated recruit in program history, will be the starter at running back. I'm always really leery while these freshman running backs get starter reps just because they're not used to the hits coming from the bigger defensive linemen. Wide receiver room, they're losing their top 4, but they're adding 5 Power 5 transfers, but none of them were starters last year at the school they're transferring from. Offensive line, they're losing 5, but they have 62 career starts for the unit that's starting, and they added an insane 8 transfers. So they're getting those transfers from the bigger schools. This unit will be a little bit better than last year's unit. Defensive line, they hit the portal hard, and the defensive line will be greatly improved. They have transfers from Jackson State, Michigan, Maryland, and Ole Miss. This could be one of the better defensive lines in the country. Real tough to run on. Linebackers, they're returning 4 of their top 6, adding transfers from Michigan and Notre Dame. So this unit will be improved. So the front 7's looking pretty good. DBs, one of the worst units in the nation last year, but they're losing 5. And they're adding 5 from Power 5 conferences. With that being said, this unit will be better. So I think their defense is going to be a little bit better than people realize because of all the influx of transfers. Special teams are losing the punter and their kicker, but they brought in transfers who are better. So defense, special teams looking good. Offense, we have some questions about. They brought in an old school type coach, a ton of transfers. They will be better than last year's team. I really want to take that over 3.5, but I'm just looking at their schedule. I don't see 4 wins on that bad boy.
It's a tough schedule. It's a tough schedule for sure. And that's even, you have to consider that, I mean, depending on what you thought of Houston and Central Florida, you're looking at a easier AAC conference. So
yeah, the quality's gone. Cincinnati's gone too. this conference isn't anywhere near the level that it was the last couple of years.
All right, well, let's dig into Charlotte's schedule here. We open at home Saturday, September 2nd with the South Carolina State Bulldogs.
If they lose to an FCS team to start the season, I think that's a win.
Then
they got to win this game.
I'm going to give them the W. Week 2, they are at the Maryland Terrapins. They have the downside of taking on Maryland in September.
I think that's a loss.
I'm going to give them the loss there too. Then they get Georgia State at home.
See, I'm a little higher on Georgia State than you guys. I think Georgia State's going to end up winning this game.
All right. Then this is brutal early. They're headed to Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, the Swamp, to take on the Florida Gators in week 4.
That's a loss.
I'm gonna give him the Georgia State win, so I've got him 2-2 at this point. It sounds like Uncle Rico's got him 1-3. Last game before the bye, they head to SMU, to Gerald Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas, to take on the Mustangs. The Mustangs' second favorite in the conference to win.
1-4.
I'll be 2-3 here. They are off October 7th, and they come back with Navy at home.
Looking at this Navy team, the one thing that really stood out to me is their defense is a lot better. And I think their defense is going to be able to keep them in games. Offense will be a little bit more explosive. I just don't think that Charlotte, with their issues on offense, is going to be able to do anything against this Navy's defense. 1-5.
I'm going to give them the win here, and it's because of the improved defensive line. I know they changed the rules so these service academies can have bigger linemen, but I think it's going to take a little bit for that to take hold.
And Navy's going to open up the playbook more. Navy's allegedly going to be passing the ball more this year. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. So I'm going to give them the W there. I've got them 3-2 at this point. So now I just have to find one more win. Next, they go to Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium in Greenville, North Carolina, just down the road to take on the East Carolina Pirates. That's an L.
You know, even though they're losing their quarterback, ECU's losing a lot. Charlotte's offense is just so bad. I got them at 1-6.
All right, and we've got the Florida Atlantic Owls at home before they head to take on Tulsa at Tulsa. What do you think of those two?
I'm going to say 0-2, man.
I'm going to agree. Next, they get a little bit of a break here, maybe for spread purpose. The Memphis Tigers at home. Then they get Rice at home, and they finish with UCF on the road. A nice little break at home, at least in November, with Memphis and Rice both being at home.
Memphis is pretty good. I think Memphis is going to beat them pretty handedly. I think they'll be able to. Rice is good too, man. Like, I think between Rice and USF, they'll get one of those.
I agree also. I think it's a 1-2 stretch, but that does for them put me at 4 to get me over there.
See, I got them at 2.
So, there we go. So I say 4. Uncle Rico says 2. Let me see. What are the odds here on the totals for the old Charlotte? It is what? On Bet Online, I'm seeing him at 3 wins for. I can get the over -135 or the under +105. I could understand if Uncle Rico played the under, but I'm definitely not playing the over there. All right, moving on. Next team is going to be the East Carolina Pirates. Uncle Rico, take it away.
Returning 37, 4 offensive, 6 defensive starters. They're losing their 4-year starting quarterback who had his best season in his career last year and is the conference all-time leader in passing yards. They have sophomore Mason Garcia set to start. The coaching staff is high on him and says he has the potential to play at the next level. They're losing Mitchell to the NFL, which is a huge loss in the running back room. They're replacing him with Harris, who was at who is they replaced him from Harris, who was out for the season last year after the Navy game, and Gerald Green, who's transferring in from Georgia Southern. Wide receiver room, they're losing their top 2 guys from last season. They're adding 5 Power 5 transfers, but losing Johnson, their number 1, huge hole to fill. New quarterback coming in, no relation to these wide receivers. A little bit of a worry point. Offensive line. This could be an issue this season as they're losing their center, right tackle, and left guard. They're getting transfers from USF and 2 from Akron, but that's a lot of talent walking out of the door, and they have a quarterback with not a lot of experience. This could be a huge issue for them. Defensive line. This unit is losing 3. One of them led the Pirates in sacks, but they are good against the run. More experience than last year's squad. If they can find someone to create pressure, I think this unit could be as good as last year's unit. Linebacker, they're losing 3, but in the Porter, they added Dilworth from UNC and all conference players from the MEAC and the Big South. Could be a surprise this season. DBs, they are losing 4. One of them was second team all conference, Malik Fleming, but they are adding transfers from UNC. Could be better than last year's group. Special teams, returning everybody. Overall, this team is due for a little bit of regression. They were plus 13 in the turnover department last season. O-line is worse. They're losing their best quarterback in school history. They're losing their best wide receiver, and they're losing their best running back. When you kind of say it like that, it kind of points to the under if I were going to bet.
I see. I'm seeing the total set at 5.5. It looks like if you go over, that is a plus 125, under minus 155. Let's look at the schedule. 3 games opening up. We've got at Michigan. Then we got Marshall at home, and then we go to Appalachian State. What do you think of those first 3?
I'm going to call it 0-3, my friend.
Yeah, I might give them Marshall at home, but I think that they didn't do themselves any favor with the scheduling here, because I think App State in Boone is tough. Marshall or Michigan at the Big House. And if they get one, it's going to be Marshall. I'll give them that one. And then we've got Gardner-Webb at home. And we go to Houston to take on Rice on the road before the bye week.
You know who Rice's starting quarterback is? JT Daniels.
Whew. Yes. The man of the amazing fading stars. He's down to like 2 now at this point.
I mean, I think that Rice game is going to be tough. I'll give him Gardner-Webb.
I'll give him Gardner-Webb as well. So I've got them at 2-3. Uncle Rico at 1-4. So they got the bye week. They come back with SMU at home. Then they got Charlotte at home before they go to take on the UTSA Roadrunners in San Antonio.
Let's just look at the stretch. SMU, one of the favorites to win the conference. Charlotte, homecoming. UTSA, one of the favorites to win the conference. Tulane, one of the favorites to win the conference. FAU, one of the favorites to win. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that is from October 12th to November 11th. That is a brutal stretch. Especially when you factor in everything they're losing. I think the only game they win in that stretch is Charlotte.
Same for me. I give them 3 wins there because I don't see them winning that. And then they've got Tulane, Florida Atlantic, Tulane at home, Florida Atlantic on the road. I've got them 2 L's there.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just a brutal. They're going to be physically beat up by the time they go to Navy. I have that as a loss too.
Yeah, I don't want to play at Annapolis that late in the year. And then they get Tulsa at home to finish it off.
I got them at 2 wins.
I've got them at, I believe, right at 4. So it sounds like an under for both of us. That total was set at 4.5. Pretty juicy. That's another one I probably don't want to play. All right, moving on. Next team, Florida Atlantic. Uncle Rico, what say ye?
I think Jim's not here. I think he's waiting until we're done with Florida Atlantic to come in. because he doesn't want to talk about former Nebraskan quarterback Casey Thompson, who's going to be the QB1 here for Florida Atlantic. They're returning 65, 8 offensive, 10 defensive starters. If Thompson does get hurt, they have Daniel Richardson, who's transferred in from CMU. That's a good 1-2 quarterback punch, I feel. Running back room, good 2-headed monster here, as their leading rusher from last season is back, and Kobe Lewis, who has played at CMU and Purdue, is transferring in. Wide receivers, they're returning 3 other top 4. They have 2 Power 5 conference tight ends transferring in. Herman says that this unit will be better than the units that he had when at Houston. The key to the potential of the offense is the offensive line. They're losing second-team all-conference left tackle and honorable mention center, but they have 4 players that have started before, and one of the better O-line coaches in college football. So the potential.
Uncle Rico, I think I lost your. Oh, there we go. I lost your sound there for a second. You're back now, though. Okay.
Okay. The key here is the offensive line. They're losing second-team all-conference left tackle and an honorable mention center, but they have 4 players that have started before, and they have one of the better O-line coaches in college football. Potential is there to be good, but they're replacing 2 guys that were all-conference players. Defensive line, they're just losing 3 rotational pieces. This unit will be just as good as last season. Linebackers, they're adding 2 studs in the transfer portal. They're basically returning everyone. This unit is loaded. DBs, they're losing Young, the safety, but adding 2 FBS transfers in the mix. I think this unit will be slightly improved compared to last year's. Special teams, this was an awful unit last year, and Herman's special teams have always been good when he was a head coach. So with that being said, even with them losing their freshman punter that averaged 46 yards a kick to Penn State, I think this unit's going to be improved. Overall, they have a doable schedule. The only tough conference game they have, USTA and Tulane, both of them are at home. But I've made a lot of money fading Herman as a favorite, backing him as a dog. I just don't trust Herman, dude. I think this team easily could win the conference, but I don't trust old Tommy.
What's the win total you're seeing? I couldn't find it earlier.
Let me type it in real quick.
They're at 9-1 to win the conference, but I didn't see one listed on.
I'll tell you what.
Online.
I'm gonna give a website a shout out. The best one I found is Vegas Insider. I mean, they have a site you can just type in the team, it'll pull it up, and these odds. There's no odds down up. I wonder if there's an injury. I wonder if there's some FAU injury news.
Could be. So let's, I guess, do our best to guess our way through this schedule. Start off back-to-back at home. We got the Monmouth Hawks and the Ohio Bobcats. A little MAC invasion heading down to Boca Raton on Saturday, September 9th.
2-0.
2-0?
Yeah.
I think I agree there. I want to say I had Ohio losing this game. Then the tough part of their schedule, how they pay the bills. They go into cupcake mode when they head to Death Valley, the other one, in Clemson, and then a Burtoning might be upon them as they head to Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini in those 2 games before their bye week.
See, call me crazy, and I get called a lot of stuff. I think they're going to lose to Clemson, but I think they're live. I'm just down in Illinois this year. I think they're kind of live against Illinois. Barring there's no news going on, because the fact that the line is down kind of hints that there's some news going on.
Yeah. I also think that they could be live against Illinois, but I think I've picked like every non-conference team playing Illinois to jump up and surprise them this year. So I'm going to go 0-2 for that stretch, and I'm 2-2 heading into the bye game. When they get back October 7th, they take on Tulsa. Then they're at USF, and then they've got the Roadrunners at home, UTSA.
I'm gonna call it 3-0. No, 2-1.
I'm gonna go 2-1 also. So I've got them at 4-2. The loss being to UTSA. Then they've got back-to-back road games at Charlotte, at UAB.
2-0.
2-0 for me as well. There looks like at this point I've got a 6-2 FAU team. Then we've got to finish up the season, East Carolina at home, Tulane at home, and then they finish the season at Rice on the road in Houston.
I think they go 3-0. Maybe a slip up at Rice. Excuse me. Maybe a slip up at Rice if they've already clinched the division, or at least to go to the conference championship game.
I'm going to call them 2-1 at that point, which puts them at about 8-4 for the season. Which be interesting to see that total. It's one that since it's off now, I definitely don't want any piece of, and can't have any piece of. So there. Moving on, next team. We're looking at the Memphis Tigers of the badass blue striped helmets of the Libibity Bowl, of a fantastic place to lose your life, Memphis, Tennessee. Uncle Rico.
Returning 44, 6 offensive and 6 defensive starters. Seth Hagging is back to lead the offenses. Will be his best season, year 3 as the starting quarterback. Blake Watson from ODU is transferring in and will be the starter. They also added Hargrove. This unit will be better than last year's. Wide receiver room. It's crazy to me to think how they are losing their top 4. But this unit could be better as they're bringing in transfers from JUCO, Division II, Toledo, and Missouri. And Rock Taylor from Toledo, I think, is in line for a huge breakout season. I really like that kid. Offensive line, they're losing their both tackles, but they're adding transfers from LSU, Arkansas, and JUCO. This is going to be one of the better offensive lines in the recent history at Memphis. Defensive line, they're an undersized last season, and this year they are correcting that by adding 3 guys that are over 300 pounds to clog the middle from Power 5 conferences. This is going to be great to get to the quarterback and to stop the run. I hate undersized defensive lines. I feel you can't win at the collegiate level with it. I think bringing in the size will help them with what they struggled with last year. Linebacker room. This unit will take a big of a hit, losing honorable mention all-conference player Murray and Collins, but they're adding Martin from East Tennessee State. I think this unit is going to take a step backwards, though. However, DBs, they're losing all-conference Johnson, which is a huge blow. The 3 other pieces from the secondary are back, plus they're adding 4 Power 5 transfers that will help this unit greatly. I don't know, man. Losing Johnson is a huge blow. I don't know if the transfers are going to be able to play at the level that he had on the field. Special teams, they're losing their punter and their kicker. They're adding Bauer from Arkansas, who will take over the punter duties, and Morgan from Sam Houston will be the kicker. Did you know, Chase, that this team has the 3rd most home wins since 2014?
It doesn't surprise me because the threat of physical violence is very real when you play against Memphis at Memphis.
So my thought process is this. Now, the key word here is should, right? They should be able to hold serve at home during conference play. Now, their road games are in conference. UAB, first-year coach, struggled last year. They had struggled last year, first-year coach Trent Dilfer. North Texas lost a lot of talent. First-year coach. Another road game at Charlotte. Okay. First-year coach. And then at Temple, who only had 3 wins last year. And their other road game is at Arkansas State. Another bad team last year, only had like 3 wins.
Yeah.
I like this team, dude. I think their schedule is doable. I think their conference schedule is insanely doable. They get Tulane at home, and they get SMU at home. No UTSA, no Florida Atlantic. I played them at 6-1 to win the conference.
Bold. Let's take a look at the schedule. We start off with the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats at home. I'm going to take probably a W there, right?
That's a win. No Ed Reed on the sideline, so that's a win.
Then we head to Jones Boogie Rockensaw Centennial Bank Stadium to take on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. That's so close to Memphis. That's practically a home game too. So I'm going to give them the dub as well.
2-0.
Navy at home.
I'm going to give them a win. We're going to 3-0.
Same here. Then they got a neutral field game. St. Louis. They are taking on the Missouri Tigers.
I think that's a loss, unfortunately.
I'm going to give them the dub. I'm actually going to give them the dub because I think so little of Missouri. And then right before the bye week, invaders from the Mountain West, the Boise State Broncos head to town.
I think that's a win.
I'm going to give them the L there. I think they're going to be beat up after playing, a SEC team. Then, you've barely an SEC team, to be fair. And then you get a pretty tough, tall order with Boise State. So I'm going to say they split those two and they head into the break 4-1. When they get back from the break on October 13th, they've got Tulane at home, UAB on the road, North Texas on the road.
Look, I think they need to go 3-0 right there, man.
I'm going to go 3-0 too because they Tulane hits them at a great time in the schedule. They come off the bye. Plus, I mean, everyone's going to be waiting to take their shot at UAB or at Tulane this season.
The thing we need to remember about Tulane is I felt last year, anytime they're in trouble, where's Spears? Let's get him the ball. Spears ain't there anymore. Spears is with my boy Vrabel up in Tennessee. So I'm a little bullish on Tulane this year. UAB, North Texas, I'm really down on it. I think that's 3-0.
I'm going to go with you with 3-0 there. So at this point, I've got them 7-1. Whew. Then they've got USF at home. They've got Charlotte on the road. 2-0.
I'm going to go 2-0, 9-1.
Same here. And then we finish up SMU at home. And then they've got Temple.
They probably split
at
these.
Philly.
Split these.
I agree too. So that puts us at what? 10-2. The total set at 8. Let's see. Over 8 minus 125. Once again, I've got a total that I'm not touching there.
I don't like that. Let me look at our friends over at Vegas Insider, my friend.
Shop around, folks.
I'm telling you, I think this Memphis team is kind of sneaky. And we're always kind of looking for that team that can kind of go, oh, maybe that's this year's team. Maybe now since Cincy and Central Florida are gone, maybe this is Memphis's year to kind of be that team. I'm seeing one shop you can get 8.5 at plus 112.
There we go. Might touch it there. Not what I'm seeing right there. All right, we're moving on. We've got Navy. Tell me about the midshipmen.
Returning 42, 8-9. Quarterback. Look, I have no clue who's going to be the starting quarterback. As Arlen, who started the last 4 games, was playing lacrosse this spring. Really doesn't give me a vote of confidence if your starting quarterback is on the lacrosse team. And their other guy was injured last season and missed most of the year. So I really don't know what's going on. Running back room, even though they're losing 2, this is the most experienced the unit will be in years. Wide receiver, they're losing Walker, but Umbarger is back, and they have a clear-cut number 1. Also, there's going to be more of them throwing the ball. I think this wide receiver unit is going to take a step forward. Offensive line, they're losing 2, but they're losing 2 that played last season and returning 7 of their top 10 career starts is 51. I think this unit's going to be better than last year's. Defensive line, they're returning everyone and will be one of the better defensive lines in the conference. Linebacker, they're losing 2 of their top 3. One of them was all-conference John Marshall. This unit will take a step backwards. DBs, they're returning everyone with more reps in practice because the offense is passing more. I expect this unit's going to take a big step forward. Special teams, they're returning the best punter in the history of the school. They're a returner, but they're losing both kickers that saw action last season. If Warner, who is replacing both kickers from last season, if he can make kicks, this obviously will take a big step forward. They're returning pretty much everyone on defense, and their offense, if they figure out the quarterback position, is going to be more explosive. I really think Navy. I think Navy's interesting. I think they're interesting.
They're definitely going through a ton of changes, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a good thing or bad thing for them. Let's take a look at the schedule. They start off Saturday, October 26th, when they take it international to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in Dublin, Ireland.
You know what? Let's play everyone's favorite game. Chase, guess that line.
I'm going to say Notre Dame is a 28.5 point favorite.
Okay, so I'm on one app that shows all the lines. The lowest line I'm seeing is Notre Dame minus 18. The best line for Navy is Navy plus 21.
Apparently, they think Vegas thinks a lot about the adjustments that Navy's going to have to make. I've got them 0-1 there.
Okay. All right. I have them 0-1 too.
All right. So they have a very early bye week on Saturday, September 2nd. They return with the Wagner Seahawks, and then they head to the Libibity Bowl, Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium in Memphis to take on the Tigers.
1 and 2. I have 1 and 2 heading into the 23rd.
Same here. They got a bye week the 23rd, and then they return. Wow, they got 3 bye weeks. Then they return with USF, North Texas, both at home.
I think those are 2 wins.
I'm going to go 2 wins. And then week before the bye, they've got Air Force at home.
That's a loss. And I'm sorry, I have them beating USF, North Texas, and Charlotte. So I have them going 3 after the bye on the 23rd, and then losing to Air Force.
I've got them, same. 4-2 at that point, and then 4-3 losing to Air Force. I think Air Force is going to continue to be the best service academy. All right, so third bye, October 28th, and then they come back. They go to Temple to play the Owls in Philly, and then they've got UAB at home.
I'm going to tell you something, Chase. Temple is this year's Kansas. Temple's going bowling this year.
Okay.
That's a loss for Navy.
I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give them, I'm going to say they split it. They get one of those 2. I think likely the UAB game. Yeah. And then they finish up with East Carolina at SMU and the Army-Navy game.
I think they beat ECU. Army-Navy game is always a toss-up. I mean, Jesus. I mean, they also have another bye. They have a bye on December 2nd, too. So, I mean, this team is going to be very well rested. I'll give them 6 wins.
I've got them at 7. I got them. I think they'll maybe 6. No, 6, because I think of the last 3 games, East Carolina, SMU, and Army, I think they go 1-2 more than likely, and I think the win is against Army. So I sit right at the number at 6. Once again, that ends up being a no play for me. Moving on, we hit the Mean Green, a place I almost went to school.
Ooh, fun fact.
Fun fact: the school that produced the gentleman who played RoboCop, the University of North Texas in Denton, Texas. Uncle Rico, tell us what's going on.
AA, you set the record for TD passes last year, is gone. Your boy Chandler Rogers from Louisiana Monroe is going to be taking over. He'll be okay in the system, but he's learning a new system. It's unrealistic that he's going to put up the numbers that AA did last year. Running backs, they're returning all 4 from last season. Could be a sneaky good unit. Wide receiver shifting to more of an air raid type offense. We can expect more production from this group. Macklin's been the talk of the camp. He should take a step forward. I think we should look to bet his receiving props early in the year before they get a little inflated. Offensive line, they're losing in the first team all-conference center, but replacing him with Minor from Arkansas. This unit has an insane 157 career starts and is probably one of the better units in the conference when you just look at their experience. Defensive line, they're switching to a 3-3-5 system. So this means second team all-conference linebacker Richard is moving up to defensive and to help create pressure. This unit will be undersized underclassmen. What could go wrong? They're losing 4 players in this unit, but Davis, who only played 1 game last year, is back from an injury, will help. Special teams are losing their kicker and their punter. I think this unit will take a step backwards. Look, with the experience they have returning and being good in the trenches, this is the team that old Uncle Rico loves. This is an Uncle Rico special. But they made a coaching change that I didn't feel they need to make. And learning a whole new system, I think it's unrealistic for them to be as competitive if they just would have kept last year's coach. I think they're going to take a step backwards. I think they're going to struggle to try to make it to a bowl.
I'll be honest. I'm completely out on them since they fired Seth Luttrell. I feel like Seth Luttrell deserved the shot, to go another season. Let's get into the schedule for North Texas. They've got a 3-game stretch before they hit the first bye week, September 23rd. They get Cal, the Golden Bears, at home. Then they've got FIU on the road and Louisiana Tech on the road.
I think they're going to go 1-2.
I've got 1-2 with the win against Cal, and then my darlings, Louisiana Tech, giving them the L. I'm big on Louisiana Tech this year.
I have their 1 win against FIU.
Okay. They come back. They've got cupcake by AAC standards, Abilene Christian at home. Then they go up to Annapolis to take on Navy, and then Temple at home.
I think that's 1-2.
I'm going to go 1-2 also. So I've got them at 2-3.
Yep.
All right. Then they head to Tulane. Then they've got Memphis at home, and at least they get UTSA at home as well.
And who do they play after that?
SMU. Brutal.
I mean, that's a murderous row. They're going to go 0-4.
I agree. I completely agree. And then they finish up with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane in Tulsa, and then they get UAB at home. I'm going to give them 1 there.
I say they win 2. So look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 wins.
I've got them at 3. Totals for under 6.5, minus 120. Still not one I want to pay the juice. This might be my least bet favorite, or my least bet conference win totals. Moving on, hooty hoo, the pride of Houston, Texas, the Rice Owls,
returning 39, 8 offensive, 7 defensive starters. JT Daniels is transferring in from West Virginia. Will be a huge step up from the production that we saw here from this group last year. Running back, they're losing their leading rusher, but Dean Connors, a JUCO transfer, is coming in to lead the unit. Wide receiver Luke McCaffrey switched over from the quarterback to position here. Second year at the position, we should expect that little jump up. Offensive line, they're losing their all-time leader in starts in Baker and their left guard, but they're adding transfers from Nebraska and Toledo, but the loss of the talent and the leadership in Baker, I think that's really going to be hard for them to match. Defensive line, they are losing 3 guys, one of them being their best player, which is a huge step backwards. They're adding transfers from Colgate and from the JUCO, but look, you have that talent walking out the door that's not being replaced from Colgate and the junior college ranks. Linebackers, 2 of their top 3 are back, but missing Conti, who was their leading tackler at linebacker position. Chamberlain, who was their number 4 tackler. Look, those are 2 pretty big losses. Chamberlain, even though he didn't tackle that much, was pretty good in coverage. Conti led him in tackling. He was a beast. I'm just not high on this unit. DBs, this unit has experience, should be better than last year's. Special teams are losing their kicker, who, let's face it, wasn't that good to begin with. Punter, they're returning. This unit could be better than last year's if they find someone that can actually kick. Overall, they're taking a huge uptick in the level of conference, and I don't know if they have the offensive line to win enough in this conference to make a bowl, so I'm passing on any action for them for a year. I feel if they would have stayed down a conference, they would have been pretty good. But going up to the American, facing some bigger boys, facing the uptick in talent, I think it's a little too much for your Owls, my friend.
Yeah, I honestly think that the easiest games that they might play are going to be the ones that are in conference against the conference lowlifes, if you will. Let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. They've got a long stretch before they hit their first bye on October 14th, and it opens with a tour of Texas. We've got at Darrell Quick K Royal. They go to Austin to take on Texas. They've got Houston at home, but that's essentially a neutral site game because both colleges are located in Houston. And then you've got the Texas Southern Tigers at home.
I think they beat Texas Southern.
I'll give them that one too. Next, we've got at USF. Then they take on East Carolina and UConn, both at home.
Could be USF. That's a winnable game. East Carolina, home field game. UConn, I think they're going to lose too. So I have them at 2 wins right now.
All right. So I got them at 2 wins as well. That puts them at 2-4 heading into the break. When they come back, they head to Tulsa to take on the Golden Hurricane. Then they've got the Green Wave of Tulane and then the SMU, which here starts a brutal 3-game stretch.
I don't know. Like, Tulsa's going to win a couple games. This game, even though I know Rice is coming off a bye, Tulsa's coming off a bye too. So I'm going to give them the Tulsa loss. And I think they lose 4 in a row, and they probably win at Charlotte.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I'm going to give them the win at Tulsa, a loss at Tulane, a loss at SMU, a loss at UTSA, win at Charlotte, loss at Florida Atlantic. So I think I end up 4-8 there, which is under the 4.5 total. Yeah. Which under is, meat and potatoes minus 115. Just because I'm thirsty for some action, I think I'm going to make the under there one of my plays. Moving on, another team in Texas, Southern Methodist University, the pride of the Metroplex, SMU. Take it away, Uncle Rico.
Real quick, did you know, this is a fun fact about SMU. One of the kids I used to coach, his dad was the guy he played on the team, and he would give money to Dickerson.
Really?
That was his whole thing on the team. He would meet a guy, he would get the money, and he was a glorified middleman.
Rivals had him rated as the number 2 bagman in the country at that point.
He was good at handing over that envelope. Returning 40, 8 offensive, 8 defensive starters. Preston Stone, who chose SMU over Texas, is going to be the starter. Should put up some solid numbers in this offense. Running rep room, solid as they're adding 2 Power 5 transfers, one named Rooston Knighton and LJ Johnson. This could be the best unit in the conference. Look, Rice in the wide receiver room is gone to the NFL, and Goffney is transferring, but they're adding Smith and Brinson from Miami and Hudson from TCU. One of them could be the number one, but look, Rice was a stud. Goffney was a stud. That's a pretty big blow with this wide receiver unit with how much they're going to be looking to throw the ball. Offensive line, this is going to be a good unit, even though they're missing a ton. They're adding transfers from Missouri, Miami, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. 123 career starts. Solid unit, a lot of Power 5 talent walking in the room. Defensive line, little worried about them learning a new defensive system, but they're adding a lot of talent and size with transfers from Oklahoma and Miami. Linebackers, this is going to be the weakness of the defense, losing 3 of their top 4. They're adding transfers from Fresno State, Liberty, and Temple, but they aren't as good as the talent that's leaving. You know, like the amount of talent in the DB room is crazy. They're adding 7 transfers. This will make this unit greatly improved. Special teams, Rogers was their starting kicker as a freshman. Expect him to take that step forward this year. Punter is back. I think this unit is going to be good. Overall, they avoid UTSA and Tulane, but play Oklahoma and Memphis on the road. My bold prediction is whoever wins the game that SMU and Memphis play, they're going to beat UTSA in the conference championship game.
Ooh, that is bold. That is very bold. Let's get into the schedule. First 3, they get Louisiana Tech at home. Then they head to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners. And then they get a little bit of a break before their next game with Prairie View A&M at home.
What is that? That is 2-1.
I'm going to go 1-2. I'm high on Louisiana Tech.
Let's see what that line is, dude. Let me pull up that line. Is it a September 2nd game?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. September 2nd. And we are talking about SMU. Guess that line.
I'm going to say that SMU is a 13.5-point favorite.
So close. 16.5.
I don't mind it for my Bulldogs to history. All right. Then they've got a 2-game stretch they hit. They're at TCU, and then they've got Charlotte at home. I'm going to say 1-2 there. I think they jump up on a team like TCU. I think TCU's due for a little bit of a down year. They've got a ton of firepower. This looks like just an old-fashioned Texas shootout. I'm going to give SMU the nod.
I think they could beat TCU. I think they'll beat Charlotte. I think going into the bye, they only have 1 loss, and that's at Oklahoma.
And I've got them 3-2. They got the bye Saturday, October 7th. They come back with a 2-game stretch on the road with East Carolina and at Temple. I'm giving them 2 dubs there.
I know. I really want Temple. I really want to take Temple, but I got them 2-0.
All right. Then we've got Tulsa at home, Rice on the road, and then North Texas at home.
3-0.
Yeah, 3-0 also. Where's that have me at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sitting at 6 right now. And then they finish off with Memphis at Memphis and Navy at home.
Like I said, I think that Memphis SMU game is going to be a sneaky good game. Like one of the better games that probably no one's going to watch this whole season. I will give Memphis the win there.
I'm going to give Memphis the win also. I think I hit right on their number of 8. I'm going to take the under just to have something for play's sake because I can get under at plus 135.
I have them at 10 wins, but I'm passing.
All right,
moving on to Memphis.
Yeah, it kind of hinges on them getting. I mean, because I'm also projecting them to get a win at TCU. If they can't beat the Hypnotoad, then that over's in trouble. Moving on, we move into the Florida territory, specifically the University of South Florida. Win total set at 4.5.
Returning 48, 4 offensive, 9 defensive starters. Former Baylor Bear Bohannon is back starting. Look, he threw for over 1,000 yards in the first 7 games. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be huge for this unit. Running back room, Joyner is going to be the starter with Battle transferring to Auburn. They did add Wright from Florida, so they'll have a nice 2-headed attack. I think this unit is going to be right on par from last year's season. Wide receivers, they're losing a ton of talent, and Carton, Horn, and Weaver leaving, but they did hit the portal hard, adding 3 transfers. I think this unit's going to take a step backwards. Offensive line, they're losing 4 and will only have 40 career starts, but the transfers will need to mesh fast for this unit to work. Defensive line, they're losing 3, but the leader in sacks and tackles is returning, plus they're adding 3 Power 5 transfers and the pass rusher from Robert Morris. I think this unit's going to take a huge step forward. Linebackers, they are losing 3, one of which was Boyles, which is a huge loss for this unit. I expect them to take a step backwards. DBs, everyone but LaPointe is back, and they're adding 2 Power 5 transfers. This unit's going to be greatly improved from what we saw last season. Special teams, returning both their punter and kicker, but losing Battle in the return game is a huge blow. Overall, they made a switch at quarterback. They're changing schemes, even though they're adding talent on the defensive side. I just don't trust them. You know what I mean? Like, I was burnt by South Florida twice last year. And there's just certain teams I just don't bet. Call me a grumpy old man that doesn't forget shit. That's South Florida Bulls.
Yeah, I'm really worried about them, especially with their non-conference schedule, because at least they get Alabama at home, but I have a feeling that Alabama loss could turn into 2 or 3 losses afterwards because they're going to get beat the fuck up by Alabama. Let's take a look at the schedule. They start off. Let's go with the first 3. They head to Bowling Green to take on Western Kentucky. They get the Florida A&M Rattlers and the Marching 100 at home, and then they've got Alabama at home. I honestly think
Alabama at South Florida.
Right. I'm giving them the 1 win against the Florida A&M Rattlers there.
Yeah.
Then we've got Rice at home. We're at Navy, and then we're at UAB. I honestly think that Alabama loss is going to turn to 2 straight. So I'm going to give them the win at UAB and a loss at Rice and a loss at Navy.
I agree 100%. That's 2 wins.
And then before the bye week on October 28th, they're limping in on fumes after taking on Florida Atlantic at home. And then they head to UConn to take on the Huskies.
Look, I'm losing to both those 2.
Same here, 0-2. So that puts me at right now 2-6. Yep. All right. So after the bye week, got the tough task of heading to Memphis to take on the Tigers, and then they get Temple at home.
0-2.
0-2 here, and then they finish off at UTSA in the Alamo Dome, and they take on Charlotte at home. I'm going to give them the Charlotte win, but I definitely think it's a loss against UTSA, and I end up on 3 wins total.
Yep. I 3. I don't know. Maybe this team can surprise and we can get some value, but I think you hit the nail on the head. They're just going to be so physically beat up after the Auburn game. That's going to learn to 2 bad losses, and the season could just kind of spiral out of control after that.
All right, moving on. The pride of Philadelphia,
Ooh.
The alma mater of one William Cosby. The Temple Owls, another hootie hoo. What say you?
Returning 37, 7 offensive and 9 defensive starters. Mathis was a starter last season to start the year, but with the issue the offensive line had, he didn't have a quick enough release, was holding the ball too long. So they switched to baby Warner, Kurt's kid. And he looked good, dude. He looked really, really good. Mathis is switching over to wide receiver. Everything I'm reading is Warner has gotten bigger and stronger. That's enticing to me, man. That's enticing to me. Wilson from Florida Atlantic is transferring in, is going to be the leader in the running back room. They added a ton of freshmen for depth. Wide receiver, the question is, who is the chain mover? But they added Wright from Colorado, who put up good numbers. So I think Warner's going to lean on him, and he's going to be the guy that's going to be the chain mover. And then Mathis is there switching position, who's a dynamic playmaker. So I think they have their chain mover in Wright. Last season, the offensive line was injured often, which hurt the unit greatly. This unit greatly. This season, they're losing their left tackle and center, but they have 4 returning with starter experience. If they can stay healthy, this unit's going to be a lot better than last season's unit. Defensive line, they are losing their leader in sacks from last season, but they're returning 2 starters, adding 2 Power 5 transfers. I think this unit's going to do just as good, if not better, than last season's unit. Linebackers, they're losing 1, adding a stud from JUCO. This unit's going to be one of the better ones in the conference. DBs, they're losing 2, but Coach Dayton is high on this unit and saying with its speed, it's going to be better than last season's unit. They're losing their punter and kicker, so because of that, I expect this team to struggle a little bit with special teams. Overall, this is the type of team that I look for. Improved O-line, young quarterback in line for improvement, manageable schedule. In a conference, let's face it, that is down from last year. You know what I mean? Temple's not going to have to play Cincinnati. They're not going to have to play Central Florida. They're not going to have to play Houston. Okay? This schedule to what they're used to is down. Plus, they are good due for positive turnover regression. I locked in over 5.5 wins at +120 for my Temple Owls.
All right. Well, let's see how Temple gets there. Let's take a look at the schedule. We start off, we've got Akron at home. Then we head to Piscataway, New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And then Norfolk State at home. I'm prepared to give them 1 and 2 there with the win over Norfolk State.
I think they can beat Akron. I think they're live against Rutgers. I mean, like, as much as everyone wants to love Rutgers, I think they're live against Rutgers. I have them at 2 and 1.
All right. After that, they've got Miami at home. Then they take on Tulsa in Tulsa. And then they've got UTSA at home. So, yeah, pretty good home schedule shaping up here.
I think they beat Tulsa.
I'm going to give them Tulsa and North Texas. So 3 and 3 at that point.
I have them 1, 2, Tulsa 3, North Texas 4.
All right. And then before their bye week, they've got SMU at home. I've got an L there.
That's an L.
So I've got them at 3 and 5 heading into the bye week. They come back with Navy at USF, at UAB, and then finish it off with Memphis at
3 and 1 to end the season, my friend.
You know what? I'm going to go with you there. And I'm going to tail you on the over. What odds could you say you found it at?
I got over 5.5 at +120.
Oh yeah, I'm in. You can lock me in. All right, moving on. Let's hit last year's AAC champions, the Fighting Squidbillies of the proud city of New Orleans, the Tulane Green Wave. Take it away.
And Jim and I hit these bad boys at 40-1 last year. Returning 39, 6 and 8 QBs. All 3 from last year are back, including Pratt, who will be the starter. He's insanely accurate, one of the better ones in the conference. Running back, they have to replace one of the best players in school history and the player that won Offensive Player of the Year in the conference in Spears. Look, it's a huge loss. I understand Clayton Johnson is back and they're adding Lewis from Liberty, but they ain't Spears. Anytime this offense was in trouble, they got him the ball and he produced. You do not have that this year. This group, their wide receivers, was deep last year, and Spears was a huge factor in the passing game. Spears is gone, and then 5 of their top leading receivers from last year is gone. They're adding 3 transfers to this group. has less experience and less talent. Offensive line should take a step forward this season for returning, and they're adding Wise from LSU. Defensively, on the defensive line, they have played a 9-man rotation, and they're losing only 2, and their top tackler from last season's back unit should be improved. Linebackers, this unit is losing a lot with their starting nickel back, plus first-team all-conference linebacker Anderson, second-team all-conference Williams. But they're adding Grubbs from Louisiana Tech and Hampton from Northwestern. But look, defensively in the middle, huge step backwards. DBs, they're losing 3 T players and only adding 1 transfer from Louisiana. This unit also going to take a step backwards. Punter and kicker are returning. But who used to return kicks for him last year? Mr. Spears, which hurts because you're not going to have him back there as the playmaker. Overall, losing Spears, losing talent in the wide receiver room, questions on defense. They have a target on their back entering the season. I think they're going to struggle this year.
All right. And welcome to the show.
What the fuck's up, boys? What the fuck is up, boys?
What's up, dude?
God,
let's go ahead. You're just you look like you got some sun. Still haven't taken me up on the gigantic Bobby Bowden straw hat.
I do need to get a big straw hat for when I'm working.
You look like you need some aloe, my friend. You need a little aloe on that face, man.
No.
You're not an aloe believer?
No. Never.
All right, let's take a look at the Tulane schedule. We start with South Alabama at home, tall order. Then they get Ole Miss at home, and then go on the road to take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. I think there are 2 teams in here that I know Uncle Rico is high on. What do you think of the first 3 games?
I think they win one of those games.
I'm going to give them the win against South Alabama, and I'm going to give them the win at Southern Miss.
I'm kind of with Chase on this one. I'm gonna go with 2-1 for Tulane in this stretch.
Then they get Nichols, Harvard on the Bayou, Nicholls State, and then UAB, both at home. It looks like they don't play a true road game really until they hit Memphis, because it's not like Hattiesburg is all that far from New Orleans at all. So Nichols and UAB, I give them 2 dubs there.
I give them 2 as well.
Same here. 2 dubs for the Green Wave.
All right, moving on. We've got a bye week, Saturday, October 7th. Then they head to Memphis to take on the Tigers. They've got North Texas at home, and then Hootie Hoo, they're down in Houston to take on Rice.
Ooh. That Memphis game's tricky.
They're going to lose to Memphis. I think they lose to Memphis. And the next 3 games, they could easily win 2 of those.
I think they probably lose to Memphis. I got them winning against both North Texas and Rice, though.
I'm going to give them the win against North Texas. I'm going to give them the loss at Rice. So that's got me sitting on 5 wins at this point. Then we finish up with at East Carolina, Tulsa at home, at Florida Atlantic, and Ratsmouth, Florida, Boca Raton. And then they get UTSA at home. It seems like they split the toughest teams in the conference. They don't have to play SMU. I'm going to say in that last 4-game stretch, I'm going to give them the win against East Carolina, a win against Tulsa, and a win against at Florida Atlantic. And I think that puts me on I think I'm on the over here, guys.
I got them going 2-2 here in this stretch. I'd probably have them losing to ECU and UTSA, but beating FAU and Tulsa. But I could see that shake up in a couple different ways.
So FAU is off the board. So something's going on there. We were trying to find the win total on there. Something's up, but if everything's fine, I think they lose to those last 2 games. I think they can beat Tulsa. I think the loss of Spears and what they're losing defensively and in the wide receiver room is just going to be too much for them.
All right.
I think I'm slightly on the under. 9.5.
Jim, I'm 9.5. Jim, I'm I'm gonna let you tag back in and lead the way for the last three. We've got Tulsa, UAB, and one of your favorites,
Greatest
UTSA.
tag team in podcasting.
There we go. Look at
So
that.
let's go with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. I don't know if anyone in this crowd has ever gotten a Golden Hurricane, but I do recommend it on a hot summer's day. Win total set at 4.5, minus 135 on the under, plus 105 on the over, and they are plus 5,000. Plus 5,000. 50-1 to win the American, baby.
Returning 42, 4 offensive, 5 defensive starters. Bryn is gone. He hit the portal, but Baxton also hit the portal. Withdrew his name. He is back. He's going to be the starter. Looked good. Threw for over 1,000 yards. Had a 2-to-1 TD to interception ratio. Running back room, they're losing 2 of their top 3, but they're adding Presley from Oklahoma State. So him and Watkins, nice 2-1-2 punch. Wide receiver, they are losing their all-time leading wide receiver in school history, along with their number 2 and number 4. So it's safe to say there's no alpha in the room. Offensive line, they're losing their starting tackles, but added 4 in the portal. Wilson has a history of coaching good O-lines, but this unit's going to be bad. He's going to have to work some magic to get this unit to the level it was last year. Defensive line, they're good. They're losing Goodlow, but they're returning everyone else. This unit is going to be a little bit more experienced than last year's unit. Linebackers, they're losing everyone, but adding Simon from USC, who will need to produce as this unit lost a ton of talent. DBs, they have 3 starters back and are adding Power 5 transfers, so I expect this unit to improve from last season. Special teams, they were bad last season, and they lost their kicker and punter, so last year's train wreck is the ceiling for this year's team, if that makes sense. Overall, losing your starting quarterback, losing your top 2 running backs, your top 2 wide receivers, your wide receiver that set all the school records, both starting tackles. 6 of your top 8 leading tacklers are gone. Coaching change, meaning learning a new system. There's a lot that could go wrong this season when you just say it out loud. I would lean to the under of 4.5, but the best price I found was minus 125, so that's a pass for me.
Yeah, there's like no good prices out there for it. This is not Temple's year. Saying it lightly. Let's get into the schedule. Starting off, UAPB, Arkansas Pine Bluff, coming to town, at Washington, and then Oklahoma at home.
You know what?
You predicting the Oklahoma upset, Eric? Is that what you're doing right now?
Chase, you're the resident Arkansas expert. Arkansas PB live here, man?
UAPB, never really live. Also, probably one of the highest murder rates in the state, Pine Bluff. So dangerous game. Dangerous game.
Give him the win. So I have him 1-2.
I also have them at 1-2. After Oklahoma, they go to NIU, get Temple at home, and then play at FAU before the bye week.
That's 0-3 for me.
0-3. I'm low on Tulsa.
Yeah, I got them 0-3 too. And I love Tulsa to death, but nah, I'm 0-3 here. Off the bye, they get Rice at home, at SMU, and then the Click comes to town.
They'll be either Rice or Charlotte.
I think they get just the one win against Charlotte.
Yeah, I'd say Charlotte. I think Chase, I mean, you guys already covered it, but I feel like me and Chase were just generally higher on Rice coming into this year.
It's true. A little hooty-hoo action.
And they finish off the season at Tulane, North Texas, at home, and at ECU. I'm going to have them going 0-3 in that stretch.
I agree with you, my friend.
Same here on that under.
2 games?
I got them at 2. I mean, I wish I could find something to bet.
Yeah. I've got them at 2 also.
If you could find a 3.5 somewhere for maybe some better odds, I might dabble with that. But at 4.5 with minus 135, I'm staying away.
That's what I would recommend. But if you can't get under 4.5, isn't worth playing.
Oh, God, this Red Bull's saving my life right now.
Oh, my God. I thought you were drinking a White Claw.
No, Red Bull sugar-free. I'm healthy.
High noon? Is it a high noon?
Eric, you know the only seltzer I'm going to drink is Bud Light seltzer in this house. Up next, UAB, the Blazers. Win total set at 5 on the dot, minus 115 both ways. They are plus 3,300 to win the AAC this year.
Returning a whopping 31, 3 offensive and 4 defensive starters. Former Baylor Bear Jacob Zeno, who actually looked decent, throwing for 723 yards, but only had a completion percentage of 57%, is going to be the starting quarterback. Losing McBride to the NFL will hurt, but they added Brown, who rushed 4. They still have Brown from last year's season, last year's team, who rushed for 631 yards. And they're adding Isaiah Jacobs, younger brother of Josh Jacobs, to the roster. Wide receivers, they're losing their top wide receiver from last season, but adding 2 Power 5 transfers to lessen the blow. But we need to remember that these transfers don't have the connection with the quarterback, so I really don't know what to expect from this unit. If I had to guess, I think they take a step backwards. Offensive line, they're losing a lot. Guess how many career starts this unit has?
18.
10.
11.
Nice.
That's not experience. That's not experience. Fish McWilliams is back on the defensive line.
Great name.
It's huge. It will help them against the run, but I don't know if they're going to be able to create pressure to get to the quarterback. Linebacker, they're losing 3 key pieces. One of them is the school's 3rd leading tackler in swoops. To say this unit's going to be taking a step backwards is an understatement. DBs, they're losing 7, but Mac McWilliams, who was their best one last year, is back, but behind him, huge drop-off. Special teams, they're losing their punter, but he wasn't that great last season. I expect them to be around the same level. Tough schedule. Changing conference, uptick in conference play. And they hired a high school football coach.
I was gonna say, Eric, I know you're a big believer in their coach.
What could possibly go wrong with UAB this year?
Let's get into this schedule. Starting the season, North Carolina A&T come to town at Georgia Southern, and then the Raging Cajuns come down to Birmingham.
I mean,
1-2?
I'll agree. 1-2.
I'll have to do some research on North Carolina A&T, but I'm going to say 1-2.
They might be live. Then the little brutal back-to-back here at Georgia and at Tulane back-to-back, and then the USF at home.
So here's the thing. Like Chase brought up a good point where we're looking at USF schedule. You play a team like Alabama, like USF does, that physicality could linger around for 2 weeks. They could easily, playing Georgia, that could carry in to a loss at Tulane, which I think they will, a loss at USF, a loss at UTSA, a loss at
Memphis. It could start like a whole domino effect.
And then right after there, you play FAU, who, again, something's going on. We don't know, but if everything's good like we think, FAU's pretty good. That's a loss. Navy is insane on defense. That's a loss. Jim, you missed my love for Temple. Temple is this year's Kansas. They are going bowling this year.
Okay, Eric, that's the bet then. That's the bet. If Temple goes bowling, I'm getting my fucking chest wax. I missed the chest wax bet.
And then they played North Texas. I mean, I just look at the schedule. I could just see the wheels falling off them only winning 2 games.
I could very easily see that too. I might actually even dabble, even though it's minus 115 on the under. I might do.
It's another. I'm not touching.
I will declare here, Eric, that if Temple goes bowling, I will wax my chest.
So what line are you guys thinking? What line are you guys seeing for this over under?
For UAB?
Yeah.
I've got it at 5, right at 5.
Yeah, I got it at like 5 on the dot.
All right, because I'm seeing another book, old Bob Hill. I'm seeing a 4.5.
At what's the under at?
I'm pulling it up right now, my man.
Give me them odds. I'm hungry for them. Yeah, do I need to sign a contract on that, though, Eric? Or are we good with the gentleman's agreement that if Temple goes bowling, I will wax my chest?
We are good at the gentleman's agreement. A gentleman's agreement, good sir.
I paid it last year.
The one thing I hate about Bob Hill is these things aren't in alphabetical order, so this may take me a little time to follow.
Fucking Bob Hill. Did you guys already do South Florida or no?
We did do South Florida.
Okay, good to know.
So we just UTSA left.
Just my little babies.
I'm looking.
Find it, Eric!
Jesus, Jim, the pressure.
I'm sorry. I'm coming off of a very long work day. I'm feeling intense. We worked in an area where it was predominantly kids running around and single moms.
Under 4.5, even money. I kind of like that.
I like it.
And single moms, Jim, how many numbers did you get?
None, dude. These were not the kind of single moms you want the numbers for.
Come on, dude.
At least not the ones that were outside. Maybe some of the ones that like stayed inside the whole time we were there. Maybe they're the ones that are responsible. Also, just like 3-year-old kids just running around and just like messing with all our stuff. Tried to steal my hard hat. I almost smacked a kid.
Did you say it? Listen up, kid. I've been busking punks like you since I was like.
No, but I was smoking a cigarette, and the kid's like, smoking. Smoking's a way you could die, right? And I was like, hey, kid, there's a lot of ways you could die.
And then you put your cigarette out on his forehead, like yeah. It's life.
So he walked up to us, and his introduction was like, hey, my dad's in jail. I was like, oh, dude, that's cool.
And then did you reply?
Save it for Maury, homie.
Did you reply, last time I was in jail, I murdered somebody?
I should have. Let's go from that. Segueing in to my UTSA Roadrunners. Meet motherfuckers. Win total is set at 7.5. They are plus 475 to win the AAC. Love this team.
Returning 51, 8 offensive, 8 defensive starters. Frank Harris is back for year not 4, not 5, not 6, but year number 7.
I love Frank Harris so much, dude. He's the definition of the COVID senior.
If he can stay healthy, this offense is going to cook. Barnes is back, led them in rushing as a freshman, and they added Rock Griffin and Henry in the portal. Great, good unit. Wide receiver getting 3 other top 4 back, but Franklin is gone, which means Cespedes will have to take that step forward, develop as that wide receiver number 1. I know he was second team all conference last season, but with Franklin there, that's who the team schemed to stop. Now they're scheming to stop Cespedes. Is he going to be able to do that? Offensive line, they're losing their starting center and right guard, but they're adding 3 JUCOs and 5 offensive linemen have 7 or more career starts. Unit's going to be deep, and I think they're going to be pretty good. Defensive line, solid again, adding 2 Power 5 transfers. They're returning 6. Could be the best defensive line in the conference. Linebackers, unit will be solid as they're only losing 2, and Trey Moore, who busted on the scene last year, will be a sophomore. I expect him to take a huge step forward. DBs, this unit will take a big hit as they're losing not 1 but 2 all-conference players. They did add Dumas from New Mexico State, and Wisdom is back after missing last year due to an injury. Special teams are returning everyone, but their kicker, who was one of the better ones in the conference, is gone. So that's going to be a lot of pressure. They're going to need the player coming in to grow up and replace them. They have Tulane, Tennessee, and Houston all on the road this season, but have a 7-year starter at the quarterback position, return a ton. And you missed my bold prediction, Jim. Are you ready for my bold prediction?
I'm ready.
Whoever wins the game between Memphis and SMU is beating UTSA in the conference championship game.
But they make the conference championship, is what you're saying.
I'm saying they make the conference championship game, but then they lose to SMU or Memphis.
Damn it. I see it. I can see that happening. Let's get into the schedule. At Houston, Texas State, and Army right out the gate.
I think they're live at Houston. I really do.
What's that line?
Oh, do you want to play a little guess that line?
Let's play. Let's play a little bit, boys. I'm going to guess it's Houston minus 3.5.
Let me pull this up here. Chase, what do you got?
I'm going to say Houston is a 7.5 point favorite.
Now, this is why you have to shop them around. The 2 books have it as a pick. Sorry, 4 books have it as a pick. 1 book has it as UTSA laying 1.
Whoa.
Another book has USTA getting 1.5, and 2 books have them getting 2.5.
Shop around, folks. I got them going 3-0.
I'm going to tail Jim here.
I'll go 3-0.
And then it's at Tennessee before the bye week.
And you know what? Call me crazy. I think that game is going to be competitive.
I think they're live to cover.
For like 2.5 quarters.
No, they're live to cover. If that Tennessee quarterback just goes off and throws a bajillion picks, it would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Off the bye, it's at Temple, UAB at home, and at FAU.
Look, as much as I want to be cute and give them a win, a loss at Temple, they'll beat Temple.
I think they go 3-0 here.
UAB
I
is pretty good, dude. That would be the one hiccup.
UAB or FAU?
FAU.
Okay.
Because remember, Tommy Herman's the coach, Jim. Fade him as a favorite.
Tom Herman's a good coach. I'm not going to say
favorite. Take him as a dog.
That's a good move. That is a good move. Texas's best coach in the last decade, Tom Herman. ECU at North Texas, Rice at home.
3-0.
3-0. And then USF at Tulane to end the season.
I think they win both.
I think they win both as well. I have UTSA losing 1 game.
Yeah.
11-1.
Yeah, same here.
So here's the question.
If that over wasn't minus 150, I'd be all over. If I can get an over 9, I would take it.
If they go 11-1, win the American, their only loss is at Tennessee.
Yes.
Could they make a New Year's Day 6 bowl?
They would 100% make a New Year's Day 6 bowl.
Now, hypothetically, if the loss at Tennessee was like 42-10, 35-3, something like that, if they get boat raced,
then it probably depends, like, what's the record of the Sun Belt champion or the Mountain West champion? What's their record?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on other outside factors like that. But I think the AAC is the best G5, and I think if you have an 11-1 record, you're in.
I think if that game is within 2 touchdowns and they go 11-1 and win the conference, I think they get in.
Yeah, even if it's a blowout, then it depends on like the other conference champions.
Well, we all know Toledo's going undefeated, so they would.
Well, then Toledo's in. Give me a MAC team in the fucking New Year's Six Bowl, please.
No, it's just this team has potential. This team could mess around and be that New Year's Day 6 bowl team like Tulane was last year.
They always could be. This team has done nothing but win for the last 3 years?
Yeah.
7-5, 2020. And then what? They go 12-2 in 21 and 11-3 in 22.
Yeah.
I love this team. I love it with all my heart. They have supplanted Hawaii as my favorite G5. I love UTSA. And they're fun as hell to watch. And their quarterback is a super duper senior.
They've got Arkansas high school coaching, like family tree legends on their staff and everything. I love everything about this UTSA team completely.
I wanted to beat Tennessee so bad, dude. I want them to beat
That'd
Tennessee
be
so bad.
awesome.
That would make my entire September if they beat Tennessee. So what's everyone's favorite bet? So let's just go around round table. Chase, who'd you end up picking for win totals?
Let's see. I've got SMU under 8 plus 135. I've got Temple over 5.5 plus 120. Tulane over 9.5 plus 115.
I like the Tulane. I like the SMU. I can't co-sign Temple. I'm sorry. I just can't. This is my gut.
You missed
Eric.
You missed all of the
the
Uncle
waxing
Rico
poetic
love.
about Temple. Did Eric sway you on that one?
Oh, totally.
I have Temple over 5.5 at plus 120 and Memphis to win the division at 6-1.
Okay. Chase, did you take any conference futures?
I'm going to take UTSA plus 475.
I don't hate that one. I'm also going to dabble with UTSA plus 475. Eric, I'm surprised you didn't take a shot on Temple.
No, I can't. I'll just take that over.
I don't know if I want to take any other shot on that. I'm just going to take UTSA plus 475. And then I will also, if I can find a UTSA over like 8.5, 9.5, I will take that at whatever plus money someone will offer me. And then basically just co-sign Chases except for Temple. I in good faith, I cannot take the Temple over.
Oh, Jim, when are you going to learn, my friend?
Well, we'll see how it goes this year, old buddy. That'll do it for the college football tailgate, everybody. Let's go clockwise, I guess. Eric, where can the people find you?
At ETOF21 Sport on everything social media.
What about you, Chase?
You can find me always being abrasive on Twitter at of Oaklawn. Check out my horse racing pod at notorious_OTB. New episode coming out tonight.
You damn right. You guys know where to find me at XFL Jim everywhere. YouTube, Twitter, all over. I'm XFL Jim. You know what I'm about. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. We greatly appreciate it. We love you guys. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the College Football Tailgate. Guys, it's Power 5 time. It's P5 time. We finally